Athenas in Sea of Thieves has some of the best treasure in the game. Even more so, it has some of the nicest rewards you can get the further you progress through. However, sometimes leveling it up can be a bit of a challenge. Which is why today I will be taking you through 3 of the easiest and best ways to level up Athena's faction in Sea of Thieves without using Hourglass. Now before starting any of these methods, it's generally a good idea to get yourself to Athena Emissary Grade 5. This is because if at any point doing these methods you see another ship or get a bit spooked, you can go ahead and sell what treasure you have on board and still get the maximum reputation and gold from it while also playing it safe and making sure you still get your treasure, and then you can return to the quest afterwards if you choose. And the best way to hit Athena's Grade 5 in adventure mode is by just diving to sea forts. Sea forts are very easy to complete, should only take you about 3 to 6 minutes depending on your skill level, and they actually yield quite a bit of Athena's treasure. However, you won't exactly be turning it in. If your goal is to hit Grade 5, you're going to want to dive to and complete 3 of these in a row. And while completing it, you want to make sure that you're searching for the key so that you can get the extra loot that is stored up top, because it will add to your Athena's level. You also want to make sure you're bringing the loot out this door, as it is actually faster than putting it on the pulley system. And if you're okay starting your journey not fully being Grade 5, then you actually only have to do 2 of these before starting. And the reason you're not selling any of the treasure from this is because it's actually faster to dive to a new one to get your reputation level higher, instead of taking the time to go ahead and sail to an outpost and sell the treasure without being a max emissary level, because it doesn't actually get you too much gold and reputation doing that and kind of just wastes your time. So diving with treasure on board is completely fine. Now the first method, and probably the best one in the game, if you're willing to stack and you're okay with being in the most annoying region in Sea of Thieves, is just doing lots of Athena quests in the Ashen Roar over and over again, because the Ashen Athena actually sells for quite a bit, and since you're in the Roar, it is likely that people aren't going to come bother you. However, you are in the most annoying region of the map, so you are going to have to keep an eye out for the volcanoes erupting, and it sometimes may take you a little longer than usual to finish the quest because you're waiting on islands erupting, or you were just about to finish a quest and then the island starts erupting. These are reasons I generally try to avoid the Roar, but for the sake of the video, this is probably the best way to level up your Athenas in adventure mode, but it's not the one I would recommend the most on the list today, especially if you're a newer player. Now the second one can also be a little tricky, especially if you're a solo. However, I will be posting up a guide in a couple days on how to do this as a solo if that is you, and that is completing Legends of the Veil. I would always recommend starting out by diving to the shipwreck, because you can actually vote to cancel the voyage before you dive, and you'll still be able to put down another dive quest until you've actually dove, so you can keep cycling through until you get a dive quest to the sunken ships. And these are really easy because there's a very specific method of doing it. The captain's logbook will always spawn on the Grimm's Fortune. And if you don't know, the logbook tells you exactly where the key is located in which ship. So once you get the logbook, you can read through and figure out exactly which boat has the key on, and you should be able to complete this part of the quest in about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how lucky you get with which boats you swim to first. And then you will either get Suds or Bell. Both of these are relatively easy. If you're struggling a bit with the Suds one, go ahead and check out rarethief.com. I'll link it down below. They actually have a full guide of every single different Suds quest you can get for the Veils, and it can be really helpful because sometimes they're a little hard to read. And then of course the Bell quest is quite easy to do, and what I recommend for solo players after you have completed the second Veilstone event is not actually completing the Veil, because although completing the Veil will fetch you an Athena and some other quite valuable treasure, it will cause you to be more targeted on the map because of the big tornado that pops up, and you have to be a bit of a decent player in order to complete them as a solo, because you have to manage your sails, your wheel, repairs, and cannons all at the same time, which if you're not comfortable doing can be a little challenging. So what I actually recommend is just voting to cancel the quest and then voting up a new one and just cycling until you either get Bell or the sunken ship, and doing this over and over again without actually finishing the Veil, because you will still get lots of good treasure, especially if you're getting the sunken ship quest, and it's a lot lower risk than completing the Veil itself. However, completing the Veil itself will still net you more reputation and gold in the end, so if you're feeling confident, I highly recommend you do that. And if you're not confident just yet, turn on those notifications and subscribe down below so that you're notified when I post that guide in a few days. But moving on to the final method, and in my opinion, this is probably the best one you can actually do, and is actually the easiest and new player friendly on the list today. And of course, you do want to hit grade 5 before you go ahead and start this event, but it's actually doing dive raid voyages to skeleton encampments. Now, you are leaving your boat unattended, which leaves you open to potentially being sunken while you're down below. However, if it makes you feel better, in my thousands of hours on this game, I've not actually ever been sunk while I've been down completing a skeleton encampment, so I can't imagine it happens very often. But essentially all you're going to be doing is speed running these skeleton encampments, because the treasure you get at the end is actually quite significant. These should really only take you about 5 minutes max, especially if you are a solo. The event scales to be quite easy, and you get 6 incredibly good pieces of Athena loot when you complete these, which is actually quite a lot and seems like you should get less. And then of course, since you can only dive to these voyages, it is a bit annoying and time consuming because you are going to have to sell in between every single one, which is why this isn't necessarily the fastest and most efficient on the list today. But it's definitely the easiest and most relaxed on the list, and is why we'll encourage newer players or players that haven't tried it in general to do this, because you'll actually complete a lot of commendations with the treasure you get. But that is the top 3 for the list today. Hopefully one of these 3s appealed to you, and you can go ahead and give it a try. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. We are growing daily, and if you enjoyed the video, let me know down below. As always, we'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.